Everyone, I'm Charlie, and welcome back to another DraftKings UCL DFS soccer slate breakdown. So I hope you guys did better for this Tuesday slate than I did. I screwed up not playing Di Maria and cash, and then couldn't quite get there in GPP, even in my Di Maria teams, just because of the Tosu brace, which I thought was crazy. So yeah, hopefully better luck for me in this Wednesday slate. It's a bit of a weird one, so buckle up. So biggest favorites are actually FC Porto because Leipzig and Man City are both on the early slate. And minus 200 is not that big for a favorite. So it's definitely going to be a weird set of games. All right, first lineups, Atletico Madrid, Lazio. For set pieces, mostly Griezmann, maybe a little bit of Rodrigo de Paul. For Lazio, it will be Luis Alberto. Teams battling out for top of the group here. We saw Inter Milan and Sociedad go into Tuesday slate with a similar situation, and nothing happened in that game. So we'll see how this one goes. For Celtic Feyenoord, Feyenoord can't go anywhere. Celtic can't go anywhere. So a completely meaningless game. For set pieces, Matt O'Reilly. Everything. If it's this lineup for Feyenoord, it should be I think Paixão, Monopoly potentially, or maybe I think also with Minte, actually. Yeah, it makes sense that they'd have no stings because of how little the game means. Okay, for Dortmund PSG, Brand Monopoly, and then here we got Lee King in Monopoly. We could see Ousmane Dembele in and no Kang, which would lead to a Dembele Monopoly. We saw that the first leg, Dembele had like 14 crosses or something against Dortmund. In terms of the stakes for this group, Dortmund are already through. I think if PSG win, they can potentially go ahead on goal or not goal difference, head to head, depending on what the goal difference is between them. And then let's get to Newcastle. So anyone can go through in this group, remember. So for Newcastle Milan, I expect strong alliance from both Trippier, Monopoly, and for Milan, they're a bit weird. Maybe a little bit of Rangers, maybe a little bit of Florenzi, maybe a little bit of Pulisic. They've always had a bit of a weird set situations going on. I think Florenzi's most likely though. FC Porto. So for them, if it's this lineup, mostly Eustachio, maybe a little bit of Sanusi. We could see Ivan Jaime in. He's played, I think, the last two UCL games. He's being 3K, and I keep picking him, and he never does anything. So I'm kind of hoping he's not in, since I don't know how I wouldn't play on the biggest favorite on the slate, even though he never does anything. For Shakhtar, Sudakov and Zubkov split. And this is a big game for the group. Like it's whoever wins basically goes through to the next round. Barca Antwerp, I think Barca clinched top. And so and Antwerp are bottom no matter what. So I'm not sure how much I love picking from this game. If it's this lineup for set pieces, I think Ferran. It's weird seeing no Gundogan, no Rafinha. I haven't seen that in a while, but Ferran has taken in the past. All right, let's go to the prices. Kylian Mbappe, 11K. One of the best players in the world. 23, 8, 22. Like he's gotten at least 7.8 every game. And Dortmund was where he had one of his better games with 21 points. I don't know if I love him because of his price is the issue, but PSG will, I think, need to get a result. So he's maybe not that crazy. Lewandowski, I'm not that interested in considering the stakes in Barcelona's game. Griezmann, I can definitely get there. He's been pretty good every game. Like he doesn't get the most crosses, but he stands over them, and he's been just getting points anyway, whether that be shots or couple of fouls drawn, he gets in there. I think I like Griezmann a lot. I think he's probably the most cash viable guy of these three. You can maybe argue Mbappe, but I like Griezmann for the 700 less and on a bigger favorite. None of these other guys were projected. Even if I see Rafinha starting, I don't think he's worth 9,300 on this slate. Lee Kang in, I think that's a little much too. Like he's definitely not as appealing as Usman Dembele set piece guy. He just doesn't do as much in the open play. Taremi. This is a pretty good play, I think, because Porto are the biggest favorites. He plays 90 most of the time. I don't see him not going 90 in this game when Porto kind of need the game. Morata, I don't mind him as a GPP play. Like he's been on fire too. You pair him up with Griezmann, I think that's a good start to a build. Ferran Torres, I mean, it's not horrible. Like if it's the Monopoly lineup that we had on FlipMob, like I could definitely get there, maybe. Lamine Yamal's all right, I guess. Correa, Giroud, not loving and like many of these guys here. Luis Alberto, that's pretty cheap for him. That's a monopoly. Atletico Madrid aren't going to dominate the game, so you expect him to get a decent amount of chances going forward, whether that be set pieces or maybe even getting a goal contribution. So I think Alberto's an all right cash play. Let's see if we find someone a little more interesting. Paixão? I don't know. That game doesn't mean anything, so I'm not really sure how much I can warrant picking guys from it. Like we saw the Arsenal game today was just so weird. Like we saw a lot of early subs. We saw players really not up for it. Like it was a pretty boring game to watch. Um, any of these guys, I'm feeling like I'm not loving it. This is such a weird slate. I don't like. There's no Man City, no Leipzig who are playing young boys. Like those would be insta stack teams basically. But now since they're on the early slate, it takes out a big chunk of interesting to pick players. Does Tony Martinez ever play? He's played 1 minute. I doubt he gets any game time. God, there's not much here. Alan Franco or Andre Franco. I think he could end up taking a little bit if he plays. He's been pretty good. I don't mind him if he starts, especially being forward eligible. God, and then there's nothing else really. Like, look at that. There's just nobody. So I think more than likely you're probably paying up it forward and trying to find some value in the midfield. We saw there was not many guys down here who are really that interesting. So yeah, you decide between your Mbappe, your Griezmann, your Taremi, and then that's really it. Your Alberto. Alberto might be the best cheap quote unquote forward there. Midfielders. Gundogan, if he plays, that's a little expensive for him. I don't think that's really worth it. If you see him and no Rafinha, maybe it'll probably mean a Gundogan monopoly. Like he's all right, I guess, if we get that kind of lineup. Brandt, I don't think so. Dortmund, I think, are happy just to get out of the group. I don't really see them going for it. Galinho, I don't think that's a bad play. 7,100, I think, is a fair price for him. He had 37 points against Shakhtar last time. I doubt he'll get any. I doubt he'll get that again, but he could get maybe a 15. Like I don't. A goal contribution is not out of the realm of possibilities here for him. So I think that's a pretty good play. I mean, he had 7 floor too, even last game. Turnbull, if he plays, that'll mean Matt O'Reilly splits. So watch out for that. That probably mean I wouldn't go either of them. Matt O'Reilly himself, I like him. Like this game doesn't mean anything though, so you don't know how many minutes he's gonna play. It's a tough one, but I definitely will think about him and maybe have a bit of him in GPP. Even in cash, I'd consider for sure. Um, God, this slate is so ugly. Eustachio. Now, I think this might be where you have to go here. 5,300, the majority set piece taker on the biggest favorite. I don't know exactly how much upside he really offers, or even how much floor he really offers, but I think for that price, you kind of just have to go for it and hope that he does something. So if I was to make a core, he'd probably be first man in just because of where he is and how the rest of the slate looks. Like this slate's so bad. Look at this. There's nobody. There's Ivan Hyman, who I was talking about earlier. I'd play if he started for sure. Yeah, as much as he bait me. Chuck Ways, we saw him. He was very owned last game, scored a goal. If he starts again, I don't see why not playing him, at least in a team or two. Rangers, I don't think that's a bad price for him if he takes. He hasn't been taking that much recently, but in a punt one off, he's all right. Adley, I think if he plays, I think he's most likely to take. He had 10 crosses against Dortmund. I think he took everything. So if he plays, I think he's a plug, honestly. Soda, quiet, sorry. Um, God, and look, just so little options. Lewis Smiley, last man, and I don't think that's crazy. I think he's an all right player. Soda, enough. Sorry about the dog. Yeah, Lewis Smiley. Hey, enough. Lewis Smiley, I don't think that's that bad of a play. Come here. All right, I'm getting a dog cam. Ugh. Oh my, so off topic, but I gotta show him. Ugh. Here he is. First time on camera. Wait, now he'll stop bothering us, hopefully. Yeah, Lewis Miley. I think that's interesting. I played him in the Premier League game. Hey, enough. Lewis Miley. I played him during the Premier League game. He got 8 points. I actually took down that Slate, I want to say, or I didn't see well. So like I like him as a player. No. Ugh. Okay. All right. Benacer, I don't know why he hasn't been playing. I think he's a pretty good player, and if he starts, he might even take. But for some reason, he's just been nowhere near the squad. Maybe have been injured, honestly. All right, defenders. Kieran Trippier on this slate, I think you just plug him. We've seen how little options there really are. Like a lot of these games are just terrible to pick from. So Trippier, I think you just plug for 7,800. It's a lot for him, but he's a safe play. You're guaranteed points where I think there's not a lot of on this slate. So Trippier, I like. Cancelo, he's been cold. He's been cold in the league at least. He had that insane game against Porto. Maybe. I guess I like if you if somehow find a way to fit him, but there's not a lot of really good bargains like we saw, so I'm not sure on him if you could even get him in. Hakimi, he's a pretty good GPP play. I think you play him with Mbappe. Like those are probably the two most likely to do anything for PSG, so I don't think he's that bad. Florenzi, he might take some set pieces. He has not been playing that many minutes, but we saw he had 7 points in just one half against Newcastle. I think that's an all right play for sure. Teo Hernandez, he'd potentially take a share if he played. So I'd be interested in him if he played. Like whoever starts at fullback for Milan, like one of him or Florenzi. I hope it's not both, but if one of them plays, then I'd be interested in them. If it's both, it's a lot harder to really decipher what exactly they're gonna do. I think I like Teo more than Florenzi though. Um, anything here, please give me something. Livermento, he's been priced up quite a bit. He was what? Nah, he's been priced up a little bit. I don't think I'd really like him for that much. Jorge Sanchez, he wasn't projected. I think that's an all right play. That's pretty good, actually. I think you just have to find a way to play Porto guys, as unappealing as they are. Sanusi, he might, yeah, like I said, he might take some set pieces. I'd play him, or it could be Wendell. I think sometimes plays there. Is he out or something? No, he's questionable. I hope Wendell plays. He's cheap and he's guaranteed sets for sure. But whoever starts at Porto left back should take some set pieces. I'm interested in them. Um, it's just not anything here. Aspilicueta, if he plays like right wing back somehow, I like that as a play. He's probably if he plays, he's probably at center back. He's probably not going to play anyway. Vine Dahl, he sometimes splits for Antwerp. I don't know if I like him against Barca when they're out of the group. Then nothing. Like such. It's going to be a weird one. I think. Who would I play? Like who would I even want to play? I think I play Eustaquio. He'd be my first person to core. Probably Sanusi would be my second. And then I think I'd play Griezmann or Mbappe. I lean Griezmann. Can you fit both? You definitely can. Maybe like a Matt O'Reilly or something to make it work. Oh, I forgot Trippier too. Oh, guys, got already a lot of a build. You can't even do it anyway, so I don't feel bad about showing all that. So yeah, I think I go Griezmann, Trippier, Eustachio. That's how I'd start my cash teams. Maybe I put Sanusi into the core instead, and then you kind of decide whether you want to go Griezmann or Mbappe. Maybe though that three would be my core. So yeah, I think it's gonna come down to that. I think you just have to pick from Porto and pick from Atleti, since those are like probably the two only minus favorites on this slate. Everyone else, I think Barca might be minus odds, but like I said, I'm a little scared of them because of their group situation. So yeah, it's a tough slate. There's not a ton of locks, I'd say. There's not even a ton of choice really of who. There's not like a couple of smash plays you got to decide between. Like we saw today a little bit with Di Maria or Zielinski, who turned out to be a bad play, but I liked him on paper. Here there's just a lot of guys it's not like there's too many guys I want to play. There's people who I'm like, oh, I'll reluctantly go him. So a lot more of a different dynamic here than we had for Tuesday's slate, but it'd be an interesting one for sure. All right, guys. Good luck tomorrow, or good luck whenever you're watching this for Wednesday's slate, and you guys have a good one. Peace.